Hello! Welcome back to a special edition of Drunk Storytime with Quefish. Reading other people's stories. This one is actually for Roomba of Doom by GayDemonicDisaster. I normally don't do Roomba on Drunk Storytime because I was trying to be like, serious performer or something. But interestingly enough, somebody when I put out my feeler on Facebook asking what do you want me to read, somebody actually posted please read Roomba of Doom, and I'm like, and Kirsty actually mentioned she already is. I was like and so the conversation went from there that she's like, go ahead and I don't mind if you do them drunk. And I'm like, it's not the first time I heard that, so may as well, right? So this is Roomba of Doom. Oh dear. Cold reading, as always. Chapter 8, Predicaments and Tartan. Naughty Bob terrorizes a visitor while protecting his angel, because Crowley's angel is, by extension, also his. Then has to make up for his misbehavior. Oh, naughty Bob. Then he goes for a walk, and they rescue a damsel in distress. Based on a true story, E.C. End notes. Aziraphale only. Wow, there's a lot crammed into this chapter. The doorbell went. As usual, Bob was alert and left off watching Wally, that's adorable, to scoot rapidly over to accompany Aziraphale to answer the door, circling him protectively. It was the Supermart groceries delivery. The delivery driver stomped in carrying the first crate of supplies. Then she helpfully took it through to the kitchen before heading out again for the next crate, while Aziraphale began unpacking stuff into the cupboards. Bob beeped in irritation at the trail of dried mud that had flaked off the delivery driver's boots all over the floor. When she came to the door with the next batch, he followed inches behind her heels, vacuuming after her, motor grumbling in a disgruntled fashion. He made a show of scooting over every patch of floor where she moved a foot, and when he thought she had been there long enough, began headbutting her toes and trying to nudge her toward the door. Your vacuum cleaner is behaving a little odd, Mr. Fell. Aziraphale looked over from where he was loading the fridge. Oh, that's just Bob. Don't mind him. He won't hurt you. We confiscated his chainsaw. We confiscated his chainsaw. The delivery driver laughed nervously, not entirely sure that Mr. Fell was joking. She felt a tugging and looked down. The Roomba had managed to grab the loose end of a shoelace and was shredding it. Hey! She yelled and tried to pull back. Bob put the brakes on and braced against her, still tugging at the shoelace angrily. Aziraphale whistled and gave the vacuum cleaner a stern look, causing the little Roomba to sulkily spit out the remains of the shredded shoelace and return to his charging port, his motors making grumpy little grumbling noises the entire way. Once the delivery driver had collected the crates and left, Aziraphale stood over Bob and gave him a serious look. Bob pretended to be asleep. I know you're awake, you little hellion. Now listen. That is not how we treat guests here. You have to be polite, dear boy. Now promise me you won't try to eat anyone else's shoelaces. Bob stayed silent for a moment. Not or a moment, for a moment. The angel raised an eyebrow. Bob let out a quiet, apologetic beep and flashed his blue LEDs once. That's better. Now be a good boy until your father gets home, and he might take you for a walk, okay? Bob flashed his lights again in an appeasing pattern and beeped assent. Crowley got home an hour or two later. Bob was trundling around the flat with a little train of carriages linked behind him, each one carrying a small pot plant, with a slightly larger one sitting directly on top of his chassis. Angel, did you make Bob a train? Crowley called out incredulously. Aziraphale appeared from where he'd been cleaning the bathroom. Why was he cleaning the bath? They don't do anything in the bathroom. Oh, hello, dearest. Yes, I did. I thought it would be a nice way for him to take all the good plants for a ride in one go as a reward. Also, he's working off his punishment for bullying the Okado driver earlier. He was most dreadfully behaved, and he ate her shoelace. Crowley sat down and watched the curious little procession circling the lounge. He called out again, Are you quite sure that all of these plants have been good, Aziraphale? There's rather a lot of them. Aziraphale returned to the kitchen area to pop the kettle on. Oh yes, they've been very good this week, especially Morticia there, and Karen. Eleanor is close to blooming as well, so I thought she deserved a little ride out. I left Kevin, Margaret, and Eloise behind, though. They haven't been quite so verdant recently, but they're trying, so I absolutely insist that you not yell at them today. They're missing out on a ride. That will do. He got out some mugs and tea bags, placed them on the counter, then went through to the plant room, whistling for Bob to follow him so he could return the plants to their rightful places again and unhook his carriages. Now go and recharge for a bit while we have a cuppa, dear boy. Then your father can take you for a walk after tea. Bob scooted back to his charging port happily and powered down again. A little later, Crowley ambled out with Bob trundling to heel for a saunter. How does a Roomba saunter? Does he like one wheel and then another wheel? The Roomba occasionally made little diversions on the pavement, either to avoid something unpleasant or to suck up something that he enjoyed, like a leaf or litter, banishing them to his pocket lint dimension that Crowley had miracled for him so he never needed emptying. Crowley scrolled on his phone as he slunk along, not paying complete attention to his little minion, until he heard an urgent beeping from a few feet behind him. He stopped to see what the problem was. Bob was halted next to the front gate of a stately-looking house with a lawn in the front of it, and a gravel driveway. The lawn was higher than the drive, so there was a steeply sloped drop-off down to the drive. It was only a few inches high, but apparently enough to have caused a problem for the robot lawnmower which was stuck there. Crowley took in the scene. Crowley took in the scene. A pitiful... I swear I know what that word is. Crowley took in the scene. A pitiful vignette of a lost struggle. The lawnmower, like a larger version of Bob, had clearly grounded out sideways on the drop-off. Its wheels had gouged frustrated tracks out of the soil where it had tried and failed to regain traction, trying to free itself and get back to its charging port until it ran out of battery. Its housing was dusty and had leaves scattered over it from the trees. It had clearly been there, forgotten, for some time. Crowley looked up at the house. All the shutters were closed, and it had a distinct aura of being empty. Is he about to adopt this damn thing? Presumably one of those owned by a millionaire who rarely ever bothered visiting and only kept a London address for the... Cachet? Is that a British thing? Probably the same for the long-forgotten and imperiled robo-lawnmower abandoned by the driveway. Bob was staring at it, bereft. He headbutted the iron railing sadly. The demon sighed. Shit. I guess that stealing someone's lawnmower probably falls under evil demonic deeds, Bob. Yes. It certainly doesn't look like anyone cares about it. If they haven't noticed that it's been stuck here all this time, they probably won't notice that it's gone either. He considered the situation for a moment. He waved a hand at the iron gate, which unlocked and swung open at his touch. Crowley looked around for a moment, checked no one was looking, then darted through the gate and tried to heft the robo-mower off the edge of the lawn. Crowley, you fucking soft touch. It was heavier than it looked. He grunted and tried again. It was pretty large, easily 3 times the size of Bob, and way too big to tuck under his arm and saunter off with. He growled and looked at Bob, who was exuding an aura of a puppy, of a puppy dog. Got it. He growled and looked at Bob, who was exuding an aura of a puppy dog, eyes pleading, despite only having some wobbly stick-on googly eyes and flashing LED lights to achieve the effect with. Crowley rolled his own eyes in frustration. Yes, Bob, I'm working on it. Hang on. He shrugged and snapped his fingers, immediately teleporting the lawnmower back to his apartment. Aziraphale's gonna shit bricks, man. I'm just picturing Aziraphale like cooking in the kitchen. Lawnmower. He then shut the gate and sauntered a little quicker away, motioning Bob to follow him. Come on, let's get home. I have to call Uncle Aziraphale and explain to him why I just landed a lawnmower in the lounge. I knew it. Fucking knew it. Fucking knew it. Before he could even get his phone out of his pocket again, however, it was already ringing. He answered it. Yes, sorry, Angel, I was literally just about to call you and explain. The fuck? When they got home, Aziraphale was sitting on the floor with a cleaning cloth and a spray bottle, methodically wiping down the filthy appliance. He looked up as Bob and Crowley came through the front door. Bob immediately zoomed toward the lawnmower with a flurry of delighted beeps and began circling it, sweeping up clumps of grass that had fallen out of it and nudging up against it. Does he have a girlfriend? As soon as Aziraphale stood up, Bob started trying to bulldoze the larger machine over to his charging port. Aziraphale looked down and his face crumpled. Oh, Crowley, will you look at that? Poor dear. No, Bob. No, it doesn't have the same charging port as you. Yours won't work on it. We'll have to order one. Look, your father can find one online. You'll just have to be patient. Bob spun around and gave a sad little beep. He settled down next to the lawnmower and powered down, as if snuggling up to it. Aziraphale's eyes met Crowley's. Crowley shrugged. I don't even have a lawn, Angel. Honestly, I was winging it, but you should have seen him. I couldn't leave it there. Besides, anyone could have stolen it. At least it's got a good home now. I'll find a charger. You give Bob some crumbs or something to cheer him up in the meantime. Aziraphale gave his demon a kiss and a gentle hug. Sometimes I think you're as soft as I am, dear. Crowley bit at his nose with a playful growl. Nope. Big scary demon, me. Of course you are, dearest. The charger arrived with next day delivery. Crowley also invested in a similar solar panel to Bob's to help boost the device's power when possible. They plugged it in and left it to charge up. Bob lingered close by until the little amber charging light changed to a steady green. He erupted in a flurry of excited beeps and zoomed over to headbutt Aziraphale's ankle to get his attention. The angel looked up from his paperwork. "What is it, dear boy?" "Oh, your friend's woken up, I suppose?" "Well, I'm afraid that's the limit of it as far as I know. We haven't got a lawn for it to mow." "I'm not sure how to even make it work for you." He trailed off, realizing his predicament. He couldn't very well program the lumbering great beast to mow the living room. It was just a machine anyway. It wasn't exactly going to interact with the demonic vacuum cleaner. It'd probably just bulldoze him out of the way. Then the little creature would be heartbroken. The angel stood and stepped over the lawnmower to consider his options. Bob followed anxiously behind and alternated circling the angel and then the lawnmower. Aziraphale looked at the pair of them and sighed. "No. I will almost certainly live to regret this." He snapped his fingers. Crowley woke to a deep, rumbling sound. He grabbed a pillow and held it over his ears, trying to drown it out. See how that fucking lawnmower going in the living room? After a while, he gave up, stretched, and reluctantly got out of bed to investigate. Fuck. He sauntered through to the lounge, which was empty. He continued toward the study, where the noise was a little louder. He stopped in the doorway. Bob was spinning excitedly in the middle of the room, while the robo-lawnmower was moving methodically over the alphabet board Crowley had drawn on the floor when Bob first moved in. The mower had a little cardboard pointer attached to the leading edge to enable it to point out letters easier with its larger size. Aziraphale was standing watching it carefully. "The hell's going on, Angel?" Crowley demanded. Aziraphale flapped his hand in Crowley's direction to indicate he was concentrating. "Not yet. Wait a moment, dear." The lawnmower stopped maneuvering. Aziraphale smiled at it. "Wonderful. Now I wonder, could you possibly disengage your blades while you're in the house, dear? They do make you rather more noisy than necessary, and there's no grass to cut in here, you see." The mower obediently dropped a couple of decibels to a quiet whir, more akin to Bob's level. Aziraphale patted it affectionately on the bright orange housing. "Thank you, dear. Now, this is Crowley. He rescued you. Crowley, meet Lydia." The robo-mower turned around to observe the demon carefully. She wheeled forward and nudged his shins gently, then backed off again. Crowley supposed it was a thank you. "Don't mention it," he mumbled. "Pleased to meet you, Lydia." He turned to the angel. "Did she just pick it herself?" Aziraphale nodded happily. Crowley thought of something and went to rummage in his desk drawer. After a moment, he brought out a little packet, triumphant. "Knew I still had a few left." He extracted a couple of items from the packet, fiddled a moment, then stepped over to the mower. "May I?" he asked, kneeling in front of her. She beeped quietly and inched forward. Crowley stuck a pair of googly eyes to the front of her housing. "That's better. Now you match Bob." The demon grinned. "I can't believe you just made a lawnmower sentient, Angel. At least I'll have an even better partner in crime to threaten the plants with now." "You'll do no such thing. Lydia, don't listen to him. You are not to threaten the plants. What a dreadful idea." He snapped his fingers and summoned a... Fuck me. He snapped his fingers and summoned a cute little tartan bow, sorry, which he stuck on top of Lydia's curved plastic housing. There, now you look prettier, dear girl. Lydia spun in a little circle while Bob zoomed around her lights flashing happily. Oh my god. Crowley sighed and watched the pair of them cavorting. This is what love is, Bob. Love is Love is dealing with tartan. He smirked at Aziraphale's eye roll. Now, what do you want for breakfast, Angel? Love is dealing with tartan. Okay, so there's... Sorry. He's been drinking. Okay, so these are the notes. Okay, so Lydia's situation is based on a true story. How fucking true. In summer 2018, I took my classic sob on a road trip across Europe to Sweden to visit her birthplace, Trollhättan. Taking an evening stroll to find a local restaurant from our Airbnb, we came across this self-same pitiful vignette, and it broke my heart, sticking in my mind ever since. There was a big empty house, clearly a rather expensive one, with huge gardens and a sloping gravel driveway. The lawn next to the drive sloped down steeply, about a foot, and a robot lawnmower was stuck there near the gate, forgotten. Its wheels had dug sad little tracks in the soil as it had tried and failed, presumably for hours, to escape its predicament, grounded out sideways on the edge of the drop-off to the driveway. It had kept trying to get home until its batteries died. It sat there forgotten, covered in dust and dead leaves, apparently for quite a long time. The house looked closed up and empty. Perhaps its owners lived elsewhere and only visited certain times of the year. Readers, it took every ounce of my willpower not to get my angel to climb over the gate and rescue that poor stranded robo-mower. I still think about it, out there, alone, in all weathers, waiting for its owners to return and save it. Yes, I have a soft spot for anthropomorphic machinery. Okay, I could say anthropomorphic, but I couldn't say pitiful a little while ago. Fuck me. And so her story had to be told, and in this fairy tale, she does get rescued and given the nicest home, loving family, and a boyfriend. I'm a soft demon. God, that's fucking funny. Oh my goodness. So, that was chapter 8 of Roomba of Doom. Bob now has a big tartan-wearing girlfriend. I can't say the word pitiful without help. And I'm calling you out on it. I'm calling you out. You spelled it's wrong constantly. There's no apostrophe in a possessive it's. It's only has an apostrophe when it's a contraction. Calling you out. But I love you anyway. So, thank you for joining me for this special drunk edition of reading other people's stories.